I'm ready. I believe in my skills and I'm very confident with my how strong I am.
A lot of people tried to tell me, do you even know who you're stepping into the ring with?
I believe in me. I had a long trip to this moment, and now I have to do my job.
No one considered him dangerous. You could tell by the belt shining on his opponent. But in the ring, he proved once again who he truly is. Las Vegas, T-Mobile Arena, May 7, 2022. On this night, it was not just a great champion stepping into the ring. Saul Canelo Alvarez entered the ring, the biggest star in modern boxing, the undisputed world champion at super middleweight, a fighter who had already collected titles across multiple divisions and was widely regarded as one of the best, and for many simply the best pound-for-pound boxer in the world. He had been moving up through weight classes, taking belts, defeating champions, and creating the impression that he controlled the entire sport. Before the fight with Dmitry Bivol, Canelo had a record of 57 wins, 1 loss, and 2 draws, and in November 2021 he became the undisputed champion at 168 pounds after defeating Caleb Plant. With that status, he took on a new challenge, moving up to light heavyweight to try to capture another major title. Across from him stood Dmitry Bivol, the WBA light heavyweight champion. Without the same level of media noise, without the same scale of fame, but with something that in boxing is often more dangerous than popularity: discipline, a cold and controlled style, extremely clean technique, and a strong sense of distance. At the time of the fight, Bivol held a record of 19-0 with 11 knockouts. He had already been a world champion for several years, yet outside the close boxing community he remained underestimated by many. That is why the poster looked like a global superstar facing another champion. But within boxing, many understood this was not just another defense or a glamorous night. It was a very difficult fight for Canelo. At stake was the WBA light heavyweight title held by Bivol. For Canelo, this fight was a chance to become a world champion at 175 pounds for the second time in his career. He had previously moved up to that weight in 2019 and knocked out Sergey Kovalev to win the WBO title, which he later vacated. So for Alvarez, this was not a random gamble but another attempt to prove that his level allowed him to secure major victories even in heavier divisions. For Bivol, it was a chance to defend his belt against the biggest name in boxing and finally step out of the shadows. And if you look at this fight not through posters but through boxing itself, the intrigue was much deeper. Canelo was no longer just a puncher. He had become a master of timing, counterpunching, disrupting an opponent's rhythm, body movement, and short explosive combinations. His style relied not only on power but on the ability to read mistakes. Canelo made opponents miss and then punished every error. His defensive work with the torso, head movement, slips, and body shots was especially dangerous, breaking the tempo even of very durable opponents. Before the fight with Bivol, he looked like a fighter capable of adapting to almost anyone. But Bivol was a different kind of challenge. His main weapon was not a single magical punch but the entire structure of his boxing: the jab, distance control, footwork, straight punches, control of space, and the ability to throw combinations without losing balance. ESPN specifically highlighted his outstanding jab, sense of distance, and 5- and 6-punch combinations that not only disrupted Canelo's rhythm but actually punished him during moments of engagement. Bivol did not rush, did not throw unnecessary punches, and did not engage in pointless exchanges. He built the fight in a way that reduced the sharpness of Canelo's strengths even before the moment of attack. That is why the road to this fight looked so fascinating. Canelo entered it as the undisputed champion at super middleweight and effectively the center of the boxing world. In early 2022, ESPN reported that he had finalized an agreement to fight Bivol on May 7th and was then expected to face Gennady Golovkin in their third fight. The idea was clear: first a risky challenge in a higher weight class, then a return to the great trilogy. That made the fight with Bivol even more significant. Canelo was not simply defending his reputation, he was building the next chapter of his legacy. Bivol, meanwhile, came into the night undefeated, holding the title but not the status of a public favorite. He was often viewed as a technical, intelligent champion, but not a particularly flashy one. Yet boxing analysts repeatedly warned that exactly this type of opponent could be the most uncomfortable for Canelo. Tall, disciplined, with a strong lead hand capable of maintaining his pace for all 12 rounds and rarely giving clean openings for counterattacks. After the fight, ESPN noted directly that Bivol used his advantages in size, distance, and the jab from the very first bell. Las Vegas is used to big names, but when Canelo fights, the atmosphere is always different. It is not just a main event. It feels like the moment when a fighter who usually dictates the entire fight is about to step into the ring. The first minutes seem to push the story in that familiar direction, Canelo searching for moments, forcing his opponent to think, applying pressure, attacking the body, gradually gathering information and preparing a turning point. But this night was not about the usual script. Round 1. The first round began cautiously, but important details appeared immediately. The fighters met in the center of the ring, studying each other, and Canelo did throw more early on. However, Bivol looked comfortable from the start. He worked the jab well, answered with combinations, and did not look intimidated or thrown off rhythm. In the live coverage, The Guardian described the round as close but clean for the champion, meaning Bivol. One thing was already clear. Bivol was not there simply to survive. He was there to build his own fight. Round 2. In the second round, Canelo responded strongly. He began landing around Bivol's tight guard more often, caught the chin with a hook, landed a clean uppercut, and looked more convincing in the power exchanges. Bivol increased his combination work, but not everything landed clean. Many reports gave this round to Canelo, and it felt like the moment when the Mexican star was beginning to find the distance. His familiar traits were visible: a short burst, a pause, and reading the opponent's reactions. Round 3. The third round became very important because it showed that Bivol was not just observing and collecting information. He started imposing his own structure. He landed well to the body with the right hand and then brought the attacks upstairs, working behind combinations of jabs and straight punches. The Guardian noted that Bivol's hand speed began to trouble Canelo, although Canelo also worked the body effectively. The fight had not fully turned yet, but the message was clear. The 175-pound champion was not only absorbing Canelo's punches, he was answering with volume and precision. Round 4. In the fourth round, Bivol continued finding success with the jab from distance. He used his reach well, stepping into range only when it made sense, mixing body attacks with shots upstairs. The Guardian noted that Canelo's face was already beginning to redden from the steady work to the head. Alvarez did apply pressure and landed a good right uppercut late in the round, but the overall picture was becoming clearer. Bivol was dictating the geometry of the fight. He was not allowing Canelo to execute his usual rhythm at a comfortable distance. There is also an important historical detail here. ESPN later reported that all three judges gave Canelo the first 4 rounds, which is one reason why the official score of 115 to 113 looked much closer than the actual flow of the fight. Officially, Canelo had started well on the scorecards, even though many live reports and analysts were already seeing Bivol's edge earlier. Round 5. The 5th round became one of the key turning points. Canelo continued pressing forward, but a problem was already visible. He could not maintain the same attacking tempo for long stretches. Bivol caught him near the ropes and unleashed a long combination of 7 or 8 punches, several of which landed cleanly. It was a telling moment. Normally, opponents become nervous near the ropes against Canelo. Here, it was Bivol who looked calm, confident, and emotionally controlled. He was not afraid of the ring position. Instead, the ring was becoming uncomfortable for Canelo. Round 6. The 6th round remained high quality and tactical. Bivol continued to use his footwork, intelligence, and size, avoiding clear openings. His activity dipped slightly during this round, and some reports awarded it to Canelo. But even in that type of round, it was no longer possible to say that Alvarez fully controlled the center of the fight. Instead, he had to work extremely hard for every successful moment. At this stage, The Guardian also cited interim CompuBox statistics showing that after 6 rounds, Bivol had significantly higher accuracy and more total clean punches landed. Round 7. The 7th round made it even clearer that Canelo was in a difficult night. Bivol continued neutralizing him with size, movement, and rhythm. The Guardian wrote directly that Bivol was beating Canelo to the punch, and that his stiff jab had become the foundation of the entire fight. From the outside, it no longer looked like a temporary issue. It looked systematic. Canelo kept searching for moments, but those moments became harder to find when the opponent refused to open up and constantly answered with combinations. Champion was putting on a near-perfect performance. Round 8. The 8th round was one of the brightest moments of the fight for Bivol. The Guardian described it bluntly. Canelo was in trouble. Bivol began pushing the smaller fighter backward around the ring, while Alvarez retreated, missing punches and looking frustrated and fatigued. Bivol landed a big right hand that forced Canelo back to the ropes. At that point, the debate about small details no longer mattered. The light heavyweight champion was putting on a near-perfect performance. Round 9. The 9th round became a brief comeback attempt for Canelo. He pressed Bivol to the ropes, increased his output, and landed some good punches. But there was a problem. As The Guardian noted, even this good round for Canelo cost him significant energy, while Bivol, who absorbed the pressure, still had more fuel left for the championship rounds. This may have been the key psychological moment of the fight. Canelo was still fighting, still trying to take back initiative, but to win he now had to invest far more energy than he was used to spending against elite opponents. Round 10. The 10th round returned the fight to Bivol's rhythm. The Guardian summarized it simply: another round for Bivol, complete control, and Canelo now needed a knockout. CBS described this stretch as extremely strong for the champion. Bivol combined well, worked behind the jab, caught Canelo while he was retreating, and did it without unnecessary risk. It was not a wild exchange. It was technical superiority at a high tempo. Bivol was not just outlanding Canelo. He was making him look uncertain. Round 11. In the 11th round, the situation became even tougher for Alvarez. Bivol absorbed his power punches with defense, answered with cleaner and heavier shots, and visibly frustrated Canelo. During this stretch there was a moment when Canelo lifted Bivol almost into the air during a clinch, a clear sign of frustration. Both CBS and The Guardian emphasized that Bivol continued to win the round through defense, combinations, and clean work. This was no longer simply a lead on the scorecards. It felt like the light heavyweight champion was controlling even the psychology of the fight. Round 12. In the 12th round, Canelo tried to save the fight. He moved forward knowing the decision might not be in his favor. But Bivol did not fall apart. The Guardian wrote that he continued landing cleaner and harder punches while Canelo never found an answer to the jab. CBS added that Alvarez's early pressure broke against Bivol's defense, and the champion forced Canelo backward again with jabs and counters. It was a finish where Bivol did not merely survive to the bell. He closed the fight confidently. Then came the official result. Dmitry Bivol defeated Saul Canelo Alvarez by unanimous decision. Official scorecards: 115 to 113, 115 to 113, 115 to 113. Bivol retained the WBA light heavyweight title. For Canelo, it was only the second loss of his professional career and the first since his fight with Floyd Mayweather in 2013. ESPN specifically noted that the scorecards appeared much closer than the actual fight.
I have a message for people who bet on me today, who won.